Hello Footy Medi Watchers and welcome to episode 2 of the Footy Medi Watch vidcast. This is about AFL Dreamteam and Supercoach. And this week we'll be talking about the midfielders for 2011. And once again we'll be going through them in terms of the blue chip players, the mid-range players and the rookies for 2011. So let's get started, let's not waste any time. Dane Swan, as I'm sure you're all aware how good he is at Dreamteam and Supercoach. He'll be most people's captains, I'd imagine, in 2011. Probably a choice between him and Brendan Goddard for 2011 captains as you build your team up. But yeah, can't go wrong with Dane Swan. He's been in good form in the NAB Cup also, so not too much to worry about there. Gary Ablett, though, is a bit of a concern for Dream Teamers and Super Coaches. Probably wouldn't be able to have both in the team anyway, but if you're choosing between these two, then with Gary Ablett's injury concerns with his hip and his groins, whilst I don't think they're major, I don't think he's also been able to put in the pre-season that he would have liked to have, and I don't think he's going to settle all too easily into these new surrounds on the on-field role, so he might not get as much protection as he did in 2011 from his teammates, so it might take him a bit of a while to settle into the 2011 season, so I think his price will drop considerably during that time, but at some stage of the year he will get into top form, maybe middle of the year, so it might be worth looking at him as a mid-season upgrade for the 2011 season. Matthew Boyd, super consistent in both forms of the game and could well be, if you're structuring your team as a second high-class midfielder, Matthew Boyd would be an excellent option for you. Captain of the Doggies this year and his pre-season form has been excellent, so keep him in mind most definitely. Lee Montagna, very consistent dream teamer and super coacher. Yeah, couldn't go wrong with Lee Montagna. He's definitely in my calculations for the 2011 season. So if you've had him before in your teams, continue on about your business. If not, very much so keep him in mind as you build up your teams in both Dream Team and Supercoach. I put Michael Barlow in here, mainly as a consideration a bit later on in the year. As most of you will all be aware, he's returning from a serious broken leg in 2010. Now, being a Richmond supporter and having seen Nathan Brown return from probably a worse injury than Michael Barlow's, but a similar one, it takes a long time to get back to even close to your best, which Nathan Brown never did. And Michael Barlow, maybe later on in the year, after a few games and his price drops a bit, he might be at the right value, but his pre-season valuations in Dream Team and Supercoach are well over the odds, and probably wouldn't see him until round 7 or 8 anyway, the earliest from what I'm hearing. So to put him on your watch list for the mid-season, he might be value in the second half of the year running into finals or something, so keep an eye out for him later on in the year, but more likely a 2012 option as a cheapie, I'd say. Lenny Hayes. Whilst I love Lenny Hayes, and most people do, I'm a little bit concerned with his age, and whilst he's continued on with good form in the NAB Cup, I think maybe his Supercoach scores may tail off just a tad, so I think his value might go down just a little bit throughout the season. I don't think it'd be anything major, but it's just you're not going to make any money out of Lenny Hayes, and I think there are better options in the midfield than Lenny Hayes. But he does provide consistency, so just keep that in mind. I don't think Lenny Hayes might be the best buy in the 2011 season. Joel Selwood, I've got question marks over myself. Definitely no problems with him in Supercoach because of the number of hardball gets that he wins, so his contested possession rate will always be high, so in Supercoach it's not an issue. In Dream Team though, I think with the possibility of him getting tagged much more heavily, that his pure quantity of possession may not be as great as we've seen in the past, especially early on in the year, as in the full heat of the AFL Premiership season, the Geelong midfield will settle down into their roles, so without Gary Ablett there, so Be interesting to see how he goes early on in the season. I definitely won't have him in my teams early on, but he is definitely worth considering in Supercoach. Dream Team have got a small question mark over him for the 2011 season, just in terms of how the Geelong midfield's going to go. Scott Pendlebury, I think, is going to have a massive season, and I think he's excellent value at both those prices in Dream Team and Supercoach. So I've had 5 big gold stars thanks to Scott Pendlebury. He's been burning up the pre-season in 2011, from what I've seen. So definitely have him in your considerations for your midfield. I think he's going to be a massive point scorer in the 2011 season, barring injury, of course. Jimmy Bartell will have another consistent year. I don't think you can go wrong with Jimmy if he's going to be like your third or fourth midfielder. I don't think he's going to be affected as much by the new Geelong midfield setup. I don't think he'll be the one that gets the tag. I think either Selwood or Chapman will be. So I think he'll continue on in his previous roles in previous seasons. So I think his price there is fair, and he'll definitely give you consistent points throughout the year. Daniel Cross, he's another Supercoach option. He gets a lot of contested possessions, so his scores are much higher in Supercoach than they are in Dream Team, but he's a very consistent performer as well, so very much keep him in mind for Supercoach. Dream Team maybe not so much, because he does handball the ball a lot, so just keep that in mind when you're structuring the two teams, but definitely high value in Supercoach. Similar lines with Luke Hodge. Definitely high contested possession rate. Helps him out in Supercoach, so he should be someone you definitely look at. Dream Team, he's not going to be playing off halfback this year, so I don't think he's going to get as much possessions. So I mainly focus on him in Supercoach for 2011. Depending on how your budget and your construction of your team works out, he may well fit well into a midfield in Dream Team as well at that price. So just keep that in mind. Nick Del Santo, he's not one of my favourites in either Herald Sun, Dream Team or AFL Supercoach, but he does consistently turn out big scores. Last season he got heavily tagged a couple of times and struggled to get points now and again, but he's still definitely a very consistent midfielder and one worth considering at the prices that they're at. Although I think in Supercoach he might be a little bit over the odds, but definitely a dream teamer. Chris Judd. Early on in the pre-season, he seemed to have a few injury niggles, and I questioned whether or not he might be having a bit of a late start to the pre-season, therefore struggle a little bit early on in the year. When I say struggle, it means it'd probably hold him to 25 possessions rather than 30. But yeah, definitely Supercoach. He's of high value with his contested possession, and in Dream Team, I'd like to keep an eye on him throughout the pre-season. I haven't seen how he's gone in the NAB Cup Challenge games yet. I'm going to have a look at that in the next couple of days, and I might give you an update next week on Chris Judd. But I think he's going to have another good year. He always has good years, so barring any serious injuries, I don't think at that price in Dream Team you could go wrong. Supercoach, 50-50. But he will get a large percentage of contested footy out of the middle, so unless Brock McLean or someone pops up and starts sharing that role with him, then I think his Supercoach score will stay high. Cade Simpson, excellent, consistent performer in both Dream Team and Supercoach. Can't go too far wrong with him. He's one of the probably unsung heroes in both competitions. When you see a team with Cade Simpson in it, you kind of go, oh, he's got Cade Simpson, he'll get 70 or 80 points, that's alright. But he always seems to go well up into the hundreds, so he's a good option and probably a good point of difference against other teams in your leagues, perhaps. So might be a unique pick against some of the other competitors in your leagues. Mark Murphy. Much like Scott Pendlebury, I think this might be a massive breakout year for Mark Murphy. Seems to be having an excellent pre-season and be performing well in the practice matches. So put him next to Scott Pendlebury as possibly being a 5-star performer in Dream Team and Supercoach in 2011. I like what I'm seeing from him quite a bit. And being a Richmond supporter, that makes me a little bit sick, but he's definitely a 5-star player, no doubt about that.